August has been a massive month for cozy gamers. There have been so many good releases, from running your own bookshop to mining for gems and even running your own supermarket. Some of these titles have stolen my heart, and it's been really hard to decide what to play. This was very much welcome after some not so great releases this year. It's really got me excited to play cozy games again. So today I'm going to sit down and share with you my honest thoughts on all of the games I have tried and tested so far this month, so you know if they are worth your time and money. Don't forget to like and also subscribe for more cozy game news and content, but let's get started. The first new game I tried this month was Is This Seat Taken, and I purchased this one on the Nintendo Switch, mainly because I was on holiday when it released and I thought that this one would be a great game to relax with for the 8-hour flight home, and I was right, it didn't disappoint. If you've not heard about this one before, it is a quirky yet delightful little puzzle game all about finding the character's perfect seats, which you might be thinking does sound like a little bit of a simple premise, and it is, but it does get a little bit more complex when you factor in the character's particular stipulations. Thankfully, although the game is a puzzle game, this one won't have you rage quitting, but on a few occasions you will have to put your brain to work, and there were a couple times where I had to try multiple combinations to find the right solution. However, I didn't feel stressed when doing this. There are a variety of different settings within each city-themed level, and as you move through the challenges, you will soon find yourself relating to each of the shaped characters, from not wanting to sit next to rowdy children on the bus to wanting to share your popcorn in the cinema. I'm sure you will soon identify yourself as one of these characters. Although there isn't any major overarching story, the little snippets of dialogues from the characters were fun. And if you are looking for a change of pace from fast-moving games, this one is definitely one to consider, as you won't find any time pressures here. There is no clock and you can truly take things at your own pace. The graphics are also nice. The muted color palettes and the line work make them feel not overly fussy but still visually appealing. I particularly like that the game had an almost retro feel to it. I would highly recommend this game to players who are wanting a wholesome puzzle game to relax with, and I think it's a perfect type of game to play handheld. My only truly negative things about this game is that I would love a button to return all of the characters to the beginning instead of having to manually move them, and the major downside is that I just wanted more levels, so I really hope that they either consider some DLC in the future or maybe some added levels, because I would absolutely adore some extra themed levels, and they could maybe do a whole pack with like summer theme or something like that. I would love that. Is This Seat Taken is also available on iOS, Android and PC. I also haven't tried it yet, but it is also fully Steam Deck verified. This one has to be one of my favorite puzzle games that I've picked up in a while, so I'll give it a strong 9 out of 10. Next up, we have the adorable sandbox decorating game, MakeRoom. I love to decorate in my cozy games, so I was really excited to try this one, as visually the game looks adorable, but did the gameplay match up to the aesthetics? In this game, there are 3 modes you can try. If you want to just decorate to your heart's content, then you will want to try sandbox mode, where you can decorate in either a house interior, camper van, or garden area. Personally, I think this was my favorite mode because it gives you the most creative freedom. There is also the objective mode, where you can pick your challenge and then you can follow the requirements when creating your masterpiece. There isn't loads of challenges, but for the completion of these you can unlock new items, which is fun. There is also the furniture creator, where you can put objects together to create fun new items, which you can then use in your builds. If you do create something and you want to show it off, you can also upload your creations to the Steam Workshop. If you don't want to give this a try, you can still add other players' work to your furniture catalog, which is good. I did try making my own furniture pieces, but after seeing what others have already uploaded and shared with the Steam Workshop, I am honestly speechless at the levels of potential creativity here. One of the most important things in decorating games is, of course, the items you're decorating with, and the furniture pieces were all really nice, although they did feel quite a bit on the modern side, so I would have loved if they had added more decor items that just feel a bit more varied with lots of different themes themes. For example, when it came to the sofas, they all did look a little bit similar to me. When it comes to decorating games, the more items you have is always the better, so there could always be more. Yes, I'm probably just being a little bit greedy here, but having that object creator did mean that you could easily go shopping in the workshop as well, and I've already added a lot. So although the developer has now added some new items with some of the updates, you can also pick the ones you want from the catalog in the workshop as well, which is good. When it comes to decorating mechanics, I did find it very smooth. I did have a little bit of problem with the camera at first, but I think that did kind of get fixed later on. I did enjoy using the different tool options available. I think the resizing tool had to be my favorite though, and I used it a lot with trying to get little knickknacks to place on surfaces, and it was just generally a lot of fun experimenting around with this one. When I initially made notes for this review, I had quite a few quality of life improvements that I thought needed to be made for the critique, but this indie dev has already put out a couple of updates which have addressed most of my main criticisms. For example, they have now added an undo button, they've also added the ability to raise things up in decorating mode, and there are over 30 new items. There is also a color wheel as well. So it's really nice to see how invested in the game they are, addressing the player feedback so quickly. So far, I have done quite a few rooms in Sandbox, and I've done a couple of objectives as well, and I made my own pond, and it's been quite a lot of fun. I spent over 6 hours in the game, and I think depending on the level of detail you go into your builds, you will definitely find yourself sinking a few hours into each game session. Time really did fly by. It is also a game that has a lot of replayability with it, as I think you can easily pick it up, decorate a room or two, and then put it down. There are lots of different options for room sizes as well, so you can always kind of test yourself with something a bit different. As much as I absolutely love this game, I don't think it's going to be for everyone, as not everyone does enjoy decorating, but if you are someone that does, I think that this is one that you should definitely add to your to play list. The retail price for this one is £8.50, or in US dollars that is $9.99, and personally as a decorator I think it's well worth the money. I haven't yet tested it on the Steam Deck, but I've seen a few reviews which does say that it works, just the UI is a little bit small, which kind of does make sense. I can see how it translates over onto that screen, and that might be an issue. I think MakeRoom could still make a few little improvements, but I have enjoyed my time here, and it definitely gave me a cozy decorating fix without the endless grinding for resources, so I'm gonna give it an 8.5 out of 10. Next up, I tried the mining cum shop management game Gemporium. In this one, you follow a mole who is looking forward to a relaxing summer. However, your grand mole has other ideas, as they want you to run the financially struggling Gemporium. The scenes within this game aren't overly large, and the gameplay takes place in 3 kind of small areas. These are your home, the mine, and your shop. In the home, you will find that there is an upgrade catalogue, a workbench, and a phone, where you occasionally get calls from your grand mole. Your mornings as a gem hunting mole start in the mines digging for the rare ores. The mining is pretty straightforward. The aim of the game is to locate the sparkly spot by chipping away at the ground. There isn't really too much complexity to this, and although you need to avoid the beams as it may cause the mine to collapse, it really isn't kind of too hard to navigate and get used to. Once you have collected all of your ores, you can then head to the workbench to clean and polish them up, ready for sale when your shop opens. You can then spend the rest of the day selling your gems to your customers who all have particular preferences. I did enjoy the gameplay, however it did get quite repetitive early on. There is a good array of upgrades to bake up the grind, but if you are someone who doesn't like repetitive gameplay, then you might need to bear this in mind. There is also financial goals to meet, because there is a loan shark waiting to stop by and collect the debt payments. The frequency of the debt payments is possibly one of the drawbacks of the game if you go into it playing in normal mode, as he does come every few days, which did cause the pressure of the game to be turned up a notch. This personally didn't bother me, and it did give me a clear incentive to kind of work hard. However, if you want to play this one more relaxing kind of level, then I would recommend you go into it playing in cozy mode, which you can adjust in the settings, as this one will give you longer days. If you master this, you can then always go back to change the mode later, as there are actually 3 different save slots, so you could have them as different levels as well. Aside from the desire to make money in the game, there are also some collectible artifacts which are a nice little addition, and it's always nice if you're a completionist to get your hands on the little Easter eggs. It also did break up from just finding gem after gem after gem. I would recommend this one to players who enjoy shorter games, as it is definitely on the shorter side and you can complete it in around 6 hours. And if you are someone who enjoys a good old grind, because that is definitely what this game has in abundance. I knew going into this game that there was going to be a short game, and because of this I didn't expect too much depth, and I was kind of right with that. There is some character dialogue, but it did feel a little bit superficial and you didn't really get to grips to all of the characters with it. With all that being said, the game is reasonably priced at £8.50 or $9.99 US. I would give this one 7 out of 10. It isn't going to be one of my must-play games of 2025, but it is a cheap and cheerful game that will keep you busy for a few hours. The next game, I think, has kind of taken the cozy gaming world a little bit by storm. This is Tiny BookShop. I had been patiently waiting for this one for a very long time, and I was really happy when I finally got to play it. I think those of us that had been following the development of this game were all a little bit shocked when the developer shadow dropped this one on the Switch as well as PC. I have personally played this one on both platforms. I found getting used to the controls on the Switch took a little bit of time, but I was suffering from a severe lack of sleep, so that may have been kind of a player issue, not a control issue. But irrespective of that, on both platforms the game played very smoothly. For the game itself, you arrive in the town of Buxtonbury-on-Sea armed with your trusty portable bookshop, and you will spend your days getting to know the locals by helping them with side quests and learning more about the town. As you get to know more people and make more book sales, you will open up new locations that you can set up shop. Running the bookshop is pretty straightforward, and at the beginning of the day you have the freedom to set up wherever you like, which is good as there may be particular events to attend, or you may simply just wish to work on quests. You kind of have that little bit of freedom, which is always nice. It's not dictated to you by the game. Prior to opening each day, you must also take into account what books may sell well in the particular area or with the particular conditions you have, and this added in a nice little bit of business management strategy, and it was nice to get your brain thinking. When the shop is open, you can kind of sit back and allow the customers to peruse your book offerings, and when they need a recommendation, you can then jump in and search the shelves for something that matches their description. I really enjoyed flicking through the books, and it was really nice to see some titles that I recognized. Sometimes I did think that kind of the customers' recommendation dislikes were a little bit off. I don't know quite how to word this. When I gave them a book and sometimes they were like, no, we didn't like this, I was like, really? It does kind of match the description, but either way, it is what it is, and you don't really get a penalty for this, so it's not the end of the world. Some shop management games can be quite manic at times, but this one was not that. It was very laid back, and it definitely allowed for some relaxing gameplay. However, on occasion, I would have liked to have speed up time a little bit, so the option to control time would have been nice. The only real problem that I found when I was playing was that there wasn't always an even distribution of book types that you could buy, as you largely buy them through mystery bundles, and for a long time I was really short on fact books. Then, like buses, I got 4 boxes that all contained fact books at once. So I think this could just be evened out a little bit. I don't know if this is something that other players have experienced as well, but generally the gameplay was really good and I enjoyed the art style. It's something that drew me into the game in the first place, although some people might find the characters with only noses a little bit unsettling. Where are their mouths and their eyes? The game is priced a little higher than some of the other games I've mentioned today, as it is $19.99 US or $16.99 in UK pounds, but I think you can really see how much time and effort has gone into this one, and I'm currently at 8 hours in the game, and I think there's going to be a lot more hours spent in this one because this charming game really sucks you in just like a good book. I'm going to have to give this one 9.5 out of 10 because it's almost perfect and it is an amazing cozy game. Bonus points are awarded because you can also pet the dog. Another game that I was waiting patiently for is the quirky magical farming sim Ritual of Raven. This one I played on PC, however it is also available on the Switch. As the game begins, you are mysteriously teleported through a portal into another world where magic exists. You're thankfully given a mentor, although they do abandon you pretty quickly. and you are then left to your own devices to find a way to stabilize the portals. Alongside this, you are required to help the villagers with various tasks and also use their unique farming mechanic to grow crops. Instead of tediously watering your crops, you will use cards to program your robot to perform actions for you, and these are called arcane constructs. I first tried this in the demo, and when I played the demo, it did take me a little while to get my head around it, but once I understood it, I thought it was a refreshing kind of change of gameplay. I do worry that this will either be a kind of a love it or hate it style of mechanic, and if you're not sure if it's for you, I do recommend watching some of the gameplay first before buying, but it really was an interesting take. In addition to farming, there is also a solid story which, in my opinion, was well written, and it did have plenty of funny moments. I'm not normally a person who loves lots and lots of dialogue, and there were kind of a few moments where I thought they could have kind of skimmed down the dialogue a little bit, but overall it was a pleasure to read and it did complement the gameplay nicely. There is quite a large area to explore, which I appreciated, and you can meet a few NPCs too. I do wish at times these had a bit more movement going on, as for the most part they were quite stationary. The music and the art is also another standout feature. The art itself is bright and vibrant, and although clearly it is a take on the pixel art style, I think because of the color palette it did feel fresh, and I love the character pictures too. I've played approximately 2 hours in the game, and I still feel like I'm pretty early on, as there is a lot to do with unlocking new areas, exploring more quests. There are estimates to complete this one, and they appear to be around the 30-hour mark, so there is definitely a good chunk ahead of me, but as it stands, I'm really enjoying the vibes for this one for sure. Just need to see how it develops further. Pricing wise, it's showing as $14.99 in UK pounds and also showing as $14.99 US dollars on where I've checked for the Steam price. So I'm not sure why they haven't done regional pricing, which is a little bit of a shame that it hasn't been adjusted. But for potentially 30 hours of gameplay, I think that that's pretty good. I do think because it's quite story heavy that this one might be a one and done. So if you're looking for like a farming sim with lots of replayability, perhaps this is not the one for that. Who do I think this one will be good for? I think it will be good for players who do enjoy farming sims but want something that's a little bit different. You will also need to be prepared to sit down and enjoy the story too. Ritual of Raven is good, but I think I do need to just spend a few more hours to make the final score for this one. But overall, kind of my initial thoughts are I am enjoying it, just trying to find the time to put a little bit more time into it before I give my final score on this one. And finally, we have the most addictive game on this list. This is Discounty, which officially released on the 21st of August on consoles, including the Switch and PC. I'm sure most of you will have heard about this game as everyone seems to be talking about it or playing it, but if you haven't, then it is a pixel supermarket simulator set in the struggling town of Blonquest. But this game isn't just about stacking the supermarket shelves, and you'll soon be unleashed on a quirky cast of characters who all have quite colourful personalities, and they may not all have your best interests at heart. Playing Discounty will definitely have you questioning your moral compass quite early on, and I did enjoy that, something a little bit of maybe a darker take on a cozy game. For me, it was the actual gameplay and running of the supermarket that made me just want to kind of keep playing. It was just kind of a play one more day, oh, and another day, and then another, and then before you know it, time had definitely flown. The overall gameplay loop was really kind of satisfying. You got to order what you wanted to sell, then you got to stock your shelves, and then check out the customers. It was kind of really nice, and this did only improve as they brought more upgrades and new furniture pieces, and some of them had special abilities as well. There is also some strategy to running this supermarket, and you do kind of have to sit back, take the time, and consider how best to lay out your supermarket to ensure that you do get those maximum profits. There were also trade deals that could be made, which was a nice addition, although perhaps these could have been optimized a little bit better, as in the beginning the stock did run out very fast. Overall, I enjoyed the running of the supermarket gameplay. I do wish that there were more ways to kind of upgrade it and make it into a full-out mega mart though. As much as I loved the game, I do think that the story and the later gameplay could have been expanded upon just to tie things up a bit better, mainly because nearer the end of the story you'll realize some things never really changed and maybe you kind of left questioning some things. You didn't always have the answers that you wanted. As I said, this is a struggling town, and you will notice that there are rundown buildings around the town. So far, these haven't been upgraded, and I don't think they actually can be. So this does feel like a little bit of a missed opportunity. I would have also loved to have been able to upgrade my trailer to a house. I don't want to live in a trailer forever. In summary, the story was good, the gameplay was good. I just wanted it to feel as if you had made more of an impact on the whole town. Also, I think it's quite important that players going into this need to know that it's not an open-ended management game. The story does kind of have an ending, and you do lose a little bit of that incentive to keep going once you've kind of got to that point. If the devs had found the right balance between wrapping up the story and incentivizing people to keep going after it's completed, I think you would have had more of an open-ended management game style, which I think people would have appreciated a bit more, because you've got that replayability there and you can still expand and kind of work on your shop even though the story is wrapped up, because that gameplay is really nice. I know this probably comes down a lot to the cost of development, but I would have honestly happily played a bit more for longer gameplay. Despite those tiny few criticisms, I did thoroughly enjoy the game, and I would recommend it if you do enjoy a management game. It felt unique and the character interactions were all really interesting. I'm going to give this one an 8.5 out of 10. So there we have it. There are all the games that I've tried and tested so far this month. Let me know which ones you have picked up, which ones are you thinking about playing. Honestly, there are still some great games coming, and we're nearly at the end of the month, which is very exciting, and September is looking promising too. Have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you again soon. Bye bye.